Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Random Chatter. This is our review show. We are going to be covering a bunch of good stuff actually this weekend, a bunch of new things, and catch up with some old stuff here.
This episode, we have the entire 360.
I don't know about 360.
Because it's episode 360. No, this is Random Chatter episode 360. So it's the see. There's a. I know no joke is funny after the autopsy, but still,
if I read the title of the episode, I might have known that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah. But our YouTube subscribers will see it in the title.
And they'll laugh at it's just the same. So it's good. It's fine. So what do we have that's brand new? I got to see.
It's been a couple of weeks.
We're going to wait for that because it has been. We didn't record last week. We got some stuff that we've all seen. So I think we all saw Protégé because I know we're covering a movie chatter coming up.
Yeah.
And I think Tim, you probably watched it with your wife when she watched it for movie chatter. Maybe.
Did I?
I don't know.
The crazy thing is that
you had seen it before.
I've watched so much that at this point I kind of can't remember what we have or haven't.
I wish
so
I had that
it
kind
had
of free
Samuel
time.
L. Jackson in it.
Oh yes.
See,
there you go. Yeah,
that's all you needed to say.
Yep, confirmed.
Yeah.
Very good. So what do you guys think of this? I mean, we're going to cover in detail this coming Tuesday on a movie chatter, but I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to expect from it. It was just, we were going to cover it. It wasn't really on my radar before then, but I thoroughly enjoyed sitting through that one.
Yeah, it was good. It was, we had just covered Kate on Movie Chatter,
right,
which we liked, and this had similar feels to that, and yet had a different tone, a different style of storytelling, and was also good. So I think that they're similar types of movies, but different styles of movies. And I think that, the Protégé was awesome. I would recommend it to people.
Yeah, I think the production was a little bit higher in this movie than Kate.
Well, I think they had more of a budget.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah, I would agree with that. I think the production a little higher.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was good action-y kind of thing. Decent story. Sam Jackson. I'm good.
Yeah, that
you had him at Sam Jackson, so
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see. Have we all been watching Foundation? This is the new series on Apple TV Plus.
I have not caught up. I've only watched the first, I think the first two, and I like it. I just haven't caught up yet.
Okay.
So no spoilers.
Tim, are you caught up? Or no spoilers. Are you caught up?
Completely caught up to Friday's release. So yeah.
And not to plug into the podcast while we're doing our podcast, but you guys should listen to the accompanying Disney Plus podcast.
Why? I'm not disputing it, but give us a reason to.
It's good. They have the makers on there. They have David.
It is
Squires
not a Disney
there.
Plus podcast.
No, you're right. It's an Apple Plus podcast.
There you go.
Well,
it's got a plus. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody's got the plus now. It's like we need Random Chatter Plus.
We really do.
Oh,
well,
done.
this is the video
there's
version.
Our new branding.
This is Random Chatter
That's right.
Plus.
The plus is video. Yeah. No, the podcast is really good because it has the makers involved and it kind of goes into the backstory and some of the decisions they made, especially the decisions they're making to update the story for modern day in the filming of this, because it's not the same as the books. I've only read the first book. I'm going to go through the rest of them as well, but I wanted to make sure I read Foundation before the series premiered. And it has the same players and the same people, but it's radically different than what we've seen or read in the book. So I think this probably makes more sense for modern days. I mean, the original was written in the 40s, I think.
Okay.
Sounds about right. 40s or 50s.
Yeah. So it's definitely good. I mean, I definitely encourage you to read the book as well, because I think the book is a good sci-fi book in its own right, but it's definitely dated. But yeah, the choices they've made for characterizations of the characters, how things are playing out, the different elements in the story. I won't go into much detail because Eric's not caught up yet, and people should watch it for themselves. But
the world building is incredible.
Yeah,
it really is. It's and the way they tell the story, it does kind of jump into back and forth between different times. And sometimes they don't tell you that. So like you have to like watch it and you're figuring out the context and you're like, hey, wait a minute. And then you get it. And but it's not really confusing. It makes it interesting because oddly enough, there's a continuity to the story, even though so far the story spans like 35 years. The main part of the story, and they're able to jump back and forth, and you're totally getting it. It's really good. It's very good.
It's definitely something that you can't. We said this before about other series. You can't multitask while you watch this.
Yeah, no, you can't
put your phone down. Don't be looking sort of through something else. Don't be reading something else. Watch this, understand the story, and go for it. I mean, the book itself does the same kind of thing where it progresses in time quite a bit. The book was actually 3 or 4 short stories put together into a novel, and there's the foundation period, there's the encyclopedias, and it goes on to other time frames from there. But it spans 200 years, I think, in the book.
Oh, okay.
It's the premise of this is that the foundation or the empire that's been around for 12,000 years is dying, and they've mathematically determined that yes, this will fall, and after that there's going to be a 30,000 year period of chaos, wars and everything else, and the foundation was designed to limit that fall to only 1,000 years instead of 30,000 years. Yeah. But the premise is the empire is going to die in 500 years, and then what happens after that? So that's what they're kind of building towards. And the book is doing very much the same thing, but in a slightly different fashion. Sorry, that's the TV series.
And this whole prediction of the downfall is like blasphemy in this society. So it causes this huge, huge rift. And even though they established the foundation, it's still kind of some people buy into it, some people don't. It's really interesting.
I'm liking it so far. It's definitely, I mean, again, the world building is really good. It's definitely a little deeper than I know some people will prefer. But it's nice to have a show that gets a little deep. Not like, when I say deep, I don't mean like heavy, like you really have to sit there and figure stuff out sort of deep. I just mean, like you said, you can't really multitask while you watch this. You need to pay attention to it. But it's really fascinating how much work they put into it. Yeah, don't be playing games on your phone. Right. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's not as deep as, like, say, Tenet or something like that, but it's
not as confusing. You're not going to have to watch as many YouTube videos afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or in advance.
Now, you guys have been watching Squid Game, which I have not seen yet. I'm interested to hear your take on it and kind of what to do with this.
I have to say, I discovered it before it got like all this hype, and that's not to brag or anything, because I mean, Netflix put it front and center. It's not like I discovered it or something like that, but I did catch it, and I thought, wow, I wish more people would find out about this.
And the last week, it's been all the hype.
It's been all over the place. It's been like front page on CNN. Yep. It's been all over the place, and I'm really glad that it's getting that level of hype. You often don't see a show that is low budget, no known actors, in a foreign language. You have to either watch it dubbed or subtitled, or in my case, both, because I like seeing the discrepancies between the two. It's funny. But anyway, you don't see that kind of thing hit this level of critical review and fandom. And it's really cool. Tim, so I've seen it. Tim, did you get to finish it yet?
Yes, yeah, we did finish it yesterday.
Yeah,
and what's also amazing, this weekend that we're exiting has been New York City Comic Con.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of cosplayers at New York City Comic Con with people dressed
as
from
characters?
Squid Game.
Wow,
really?
I mean, it's seriously ad hoc stuff. Like they went out and bought like pink hoodies. But I mean, given the few days, I mean, like 2 weeks max that the thing has been out.
Yeah.
The popularity has only been in the last week. I mean, people just cobbled stuff together, but it's great. It's so first of all, fair warning to everyone: this is not a family show. It's bloody. There's language. There's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. It is.
And I will tell you, if you can get through, if you can get through the violence, you're gonna have interest in it. I can see that there's probably a lot of people who, like, in the first episode, they see some of the violence that comes out of it, and they're like, yeah, no, this isn't for me.
And that's fair.
I totally respect that.
Mm-hmm. But it's not violence for the sake of violence. Like, there's a story underneath it.
True.
And it's got depth to it.
Sake, yeah.
It's not, I don't want to say, this isn't, not ripping on Tarantino, but it's not like a Quentin Tarantino film or something where it's, his stuff is very stylized and it's hyper violent, but that is part of the style of the presentation. So this is more like there's actual story substance here. Not that all of Tarantino stuff doesn't, because some of it does. But then also separately, there is a very, very violent sort of premise behind it.
Yeah. So stick around for the story of this, even if you're like not real crazy about the violence. And to be honest, I mean, a lot of the stretches of violence are like these specific games, and leave the room or fast forward through them, because while there's certainly some context of things that happens through some of these games, I think some of it you can kind of figure out, you know, like after the violence. But
not all of them are
try to deal with it as well as you can.
And so to be fair, I kind of want
some are just sad.
Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate. I want to walk back the violence a little bit. There are some very, very violent scenes, but the entire series is not just one big blood fest. Like it's not. I don't think, like, people who listen to this podcast have probably seen like way more violent things than this. And so, you know, we don't want to scare you away from it. Just know going into it that you're going to want to watch it after your kids go to bed. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not, folks who've been listening for a while know that I don't really go for like slasher, gory kind of horror stuff.
Nor do I.
And while there's a fair amount of blood in this, and again, the violence, it doesn't approach that kind of, again, like you said, Eric, it's not this gratuitous slashery kind of violence. It has meaning. It's part of the story. There is a much grander story there. It's really interesting. It's very, very interesting. It's very unique.
Very.
You know, there's a couple of movies. I mean, and this is a South Korean film or South Korean series. There's some American things that I could say, yeah, this may have been an inspiration, but I also don't know for sure because I don't know what the creators in South Korea saw or didn't see.
It's different enough.
The basic premise of it.
So the basic premise is
like a game show-esque. If you think anything else.
So I know you're a Stephen King fan. Have you ever read the short story for The Running Man?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of our viewers will be familiar with the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie out of the 80s, The Running Man. The book was set where poor people would volunteer to participate in this contest where you were basically being hunted, and as long as you could stay alive for a certain amount of time, you would win this big prize money. And it wasn't in an arena like the movie was. It was literally anywhere in the country. You have like 24 hours to get a head start, and then you're gone. The premise of that, where people who are kind of down and out have an opportunity to compete, to, you know, get out of that status, is kind of the premise. And this is going to sound weird. Bear with me. This organization takes them to somewhere, we don't know where, and they're all given like jumpsuits with a number on them. And in kind of Hunger Games fashion, they have to compete in these games, and they're all kids' games. Like the first one, the one you'll see in the trailer, if you watch the trailer, is red light, green light. Like when you're a kid and all the kids line up in a line and there's one person out in front and they say green light and everybody can run until they say red light, and the person turns around and anybody they still see moving is out. And in this game, when you're out, machine guns pop out of the sides of the walls and shoot you and you're dead.
Oh yeah, you're out.
So whoever crosses the line at the end gets to proceed to the next round. But there's more to it than that. So that's a very simplified premise. The premise is very simple. The storytelling is where it gets a little more complicated. And by the way, Tim, this has quickly become one of my favorite YouTube channels, but New Rockstars, they normally wouldn't do it for this type of a series, but they have a little breakdown video that they just released about some of the Easter eggs throughout the series that kind of lead up to the end. And we'll just say that because we don't want to spoil anything, but little things you can pick up along the way that kind of, plant seeds toward that ending. But it's a good series. I'm so glad that it's getting this much hype. I think it's deserving of it. It's different. How often do we see things that are this different? And it's not like I said, I'm comparing it to Running Man and Hunger Games and stuff. We've seen similar premises and concepts and themes before, but not presented this way. Yeah. It's really good.
Okay.
What's next?
Interesting. Let's see. Brea is a new series.
We completely skipped
NBC.
over one of the big releases for this week, Lou. Free Guy. Come on, you saw Free Guy,
I'm
right?
Just bumping around things.
But Ryan Reynolds. It's Deadpool.
Free Guy's been out for a
it's
while.
Like the most important thing in the world, Lou.
Came out in the theaters weeks ago.
I know, but now now people can watch it at home and be safe.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet. So go ahead, do your Free Guy thing.
Too late.
I'm waiting until Free Guy is free because I don't really want to pay for it.
That's a little on the nose, Lou.
No, I know. But no, go ahead. Do your Free Guy.
Tim,
thing.
did you see Free Guy? Tim.
Oh, I did.
You did, and Tim, did you like Free Guy?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, speaking of like original stuff, and again, there are things that you can reach to and say, oh yeah, it had a little bit of this in it and a little bit of that movie in it and that kind of thing. And you see maybe some potential inspirations, but all in all, a pretty original story done very well. Ryan Reynolds, who, you pretty much can't go wrong with. You could have a movie 2.5 hours of Ryan Reynolds staring at a rock and it would be thoroughly entertaining.
Pretty much go that far, but okay.
There are some really good Easter eggs in this thing. It's fantastic. It's so, and oh my gosh, Taika Waititi, holy crap!
I know, right?
Taika Waititi is so damn good in this, and there is a little bonus thing of outtakes. For Taika Waititi.
They had 9 hours of him improving rants. 9 hours.
Yeah. So like fundamentally, it was kind of like they gave him like, hey, here's where we are in the story. Here's a sample line. Go. And he just kept rattling off thing after thing after thing, all very different, all very funny. And you're watching these and comparing them to what was in the movie, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know which was funnier. It was so good. It was so good.
Now his assistant, not the other protagonist, but his assistant. I know you're into improv, Tim, and I don't know if you've watched Freestyle Love Supreme yet or not. I've been trying to get you to for a while.
Not, no.
Okay, I'm going to bring some with me
when
I go visit you, and we're going to watch some. But one of the freestyle rappers in that, UTK, Utkaresh, I forget his last name. He's the guy, the assistant, like the yes man for Taika Waititi's character.
Yeah.
And
all right.
Like the only freestyle rapper I've seen that's better than Chris Turner and better than Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, so he's in it. The casting was
funny movie.
Great in this movie. There's all kinds of references, and they're over the top, but in this case, the over the top works.
Yeah, totally does. Very funny.
Yeah.
You guys are going to make me pay for this, aren't you? You guys are making me buy this on Apple TV and watch.
Yes.
Damn it.
You absolutely should. You absolutely
I wouldn't in a theater.
This is Apple TV Plus, folks,
for your health.
And it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, now that your health is no longer at risk, yes, buy it. It's not going to win any Academy Awards or anything. It's just it's fun.
I wouldn't imagine it would.
Fun.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It looks really fun. So yeah, I'm hoping to see it soon.
Yeah. Free Guy, definitely worth picking up. Definitely worth every dollar.
Yeah,
okay.
Highly recommend.
Very good. So not quite in the same level as that. We mentioned Brea a minute ago.
Yeah.
It's NBC sci-fi series that's probably going to last a season and get canceled.
I hate that.
Like most of the stuff, even good stuff prediction. They put on NBC. It's just I don't know. They just have that track record, and this one doesn't appear to be as good as some of the stuff I've seen canceled before.
Well, that's true.
What did you guys think?
I've only seen the pilot, and I thought that the pilot has potential enough that I decided I'll watch it for 3 or 4 episodes and see where it goes. I agree with your assessment that unfortunately it will probably go right to the cutting room floor and might not even finish the first season, because that's how this type of show typically goes. And I think that part of it is that after Lost came out, you had so many people who either A, hated the end of Lost, or B, hated all of the crappy jumping on the bandwagon shows that came out immediately afterwards that all the networks were trying to throw together that just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That now nobody watches. So all of those got canceled so quickly that people got sick of getting burned. So they no longer watch this type of show out of fear of getting burned. And then the ones who do watch it get burned as a result. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy right now. It has been for a while. So if you're going to do a show like this, it has to be so good that everybody in the world's talking about it, or else, I mean, you're starting out behind the rest of the game, because it's just, people have been burned so many times. They won't watch. They know better. Yeah. Who wants to watch a show that you're almost certain before you even sit down to watch it is likely to get canceled?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll get burned. I mean, I'm in 2 episodes in now, or 3 episodes in. It's not going to make it. I know it's not. I mean, already it's just,
Yeah, it's the thing is that it's kind of offbeat just enough. And a lot of people do say like, oh, hey, this is like really reminiscent of Lost. And it's funny because even in the pilot, someone mentions something
Lost.
About Lost.
Yeah.
And it's so I've only also seen the pilot, and I think the 2nd episode is up, maybe the 3rd episode. I'm not sure.
I think
there's at least 2 out.
There's at least 2.
I know that, but it might be 3.
So when I watch things like this, I really have to separate my enjoying pop culture self from my professional self, because the whole like disaster side of this thing is an absolute cluster. It is in no way, shape, or form how anything like a disaster would ever go.
That's not true. Okay, so let's start at the beginning here.
But it's
in a real disaster response, you have people from organizations, and there you go.
Yeah. So
it's so similar.
when it jumps over to the sci-fi part of this, I'm pretty bought in. I enjoy it. I think it's pretty good. I like the premise of it. I think it has a lot of potential. Yeah, it's probably going to go a season, maybe 2 seasons, and that's a big maybe. But wow. That's about it. And I think
what's the over under on 2 seasons, Tim? I don't know.
And the thing is that there's fundamentally nothing wrong with it, but they have to capture like that same Lost audience.
See,
and if they don't, that's it. It's they're not going to get there, because I think it is then too sci-fi, and so much. A lot of sci-fi on network TV falls flat. It does not garner a big enough audience.
No, but the sci-fi in this one just seems kind of wonky. I mean, it's not. I mean, the other stuff that's been canceled in the last few years. I mean, there was Surface, there was Debris, and a whole host of other stuff.
I'd rather see Terra Nova come back.
Yeah, Terra Nova,
I like Terra Nova. Debris, I watched like 2 episodes and I was bored out of my mind.
Debris, I'm getting ready to watch the finale, even though it's canceled season 1 and burned by that one again too. But I think there's a better story there than there is in this one. This one just seems so hokey that we had this hole open up in the ground, and oh, look, there's a bright light. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, you know, and everybody down there is going, where are we? I'm like, you just went through a sinkhole. Where do you think you are, you moron? And then they're in this, the sky is there and the sun's out. And I'm like, okay, no one's freaking out about that, but you're freaking out about the fact that
there's a lot of suspension of disbelief in this one that you didn't have in the first episode of Lost. And the other thing too, in the pilot of Lost, you had characters you could sympathize with a little bit more. You've got, you've got a pregnant woman, you've got Hurley, you've got Jack, who's running around trying to fix people. You've got other people who are kind of in a state of shock. And each character kind of has a little bit of a mystery to them. In this one, aside from the family that's kind of like the poster people for this series,
right,
you don't really have any likable characters so far. Everybody kind of does stuff that kind of pisses you off. Or like you've got the one kid that's a brat. You've got another person who's has some sort of a drug thing, either dealing drugs or doing drugs or whatever.
Right. And you got that cop
and he's just a total jerk.
The cop who overreacts to everything.
The cop is dirty.
You've got another person
doctor,
with mental health issues.
Rubbed me wrong and then seemed to be fine. Yeah, so you have the guy who was going to off himself and then like found a mission and he's good. So like I think that's cool. Like they they changed his direction and got him going out there, but
they were kind of trying too hard with that.
It's still all very, very weird.
It was kind of like, hey, here's someone with a problem, but we're going to make him do a good thing to kind of get away from that problem. But I bet you it's going to pop up again later. Like it was just so
exactly,
It didn't feel natural, and none of the characters, in my opinion, were sympathetic or relatable, except maybe the mom and the son. Yep. And the stuff on the surface, I'm not caring a whole lot about yet, because I don't really like any of those characters at all either. I don't know. I feel like Lost, you got attached to certain characters, and it was very much about what the characters were going through on any given day. And in this one, they're trying so hard to sell the mystery. You don't even know what the mystery is yet, so how can you sell it?
Right, yeah. I feel like we've given this series way too much time on the show already. So,
okay, all right. So, I mean, I think is a fair review of it, of our opinions.
I think so too. I mean, I'm going to continue watching it until it gets canceled or until I just get disgusted. But for now, I'm going to stick with it. So, Anyway, one last thing that we're going to talk about on another show: Star Wars Terrifying Tales. This is the Lego holiday, well, not holiday, Halloween special. Yeah, it's a holiday. I'm just going to say here, excellent. I enjoyed it more than anything else I've talked about already. So tune into Force Chatter, and we'll talk about more
drug use. That's more than anything we've talked about so far
that I've seen. I mean,
you saw Foundation.
Yeah,
you saw the Protégé.
This was way more fun than those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Meh.
Okay, anyway.
It's all right. My son will like it.
I like your son. See, we're good.
There you
go. New stuff.
And Fatmatic says he liked Terrifying Tales, so
I like Fatmatic too. See,
I know that my apathy is in the minority. Everybody did seem to like it, so I'm on board with that. I just like I watched it and it was like, oh, this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine.
What's next?
Okay. Well, Eric, what have you seen that's new that you want to?
I've seen old. Seen? Old is new.
Old is not new.
Old is new in this case. Old is the new M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, I was waiting for a Lou joke.
Well, we're not talking that old. We're talking like, I mean, it came out fairly recently, and like people age in the movie, but not like to lose.
You don't have to poke the bear, Tim. Come on. Jesus.
Yeah. So, wow, what to say about this one? So there are ways in which it's bad that his first film was The Sixth Sense, because The Sixth Sense was something we'd never seen before. And when you go back and watch it a second time, it's a whole different movie. Every scene in the movie is a whole different movie. In this movie, if you went back and rewatched it again, nothing would change. Yes, there's a big reveal. I wouldn't even really call it a plot twist. It's just like, it's not a twist if there's something going on, and you know there has to be something going on, and they just haven't revealed it to you yet. Mm-hmm. That's not a plot twist. A plot twist is when it's very clearly something.
That's like suspenseful.
And then it's just not that thing. It turns out it was something else. And then to make that actually work and be valid, instead of them just lying to the audience, that's what makes a good plot twist. You're right. Instead, this is just suspense. And it was okay. That's fine. Just don't expect any big plot twist. You're going to spend a lot of the movie not really understanding why the things are happening that are happening. And really, that's the interesting part of the story. So it's one of those movies where they kind of string you along until the end, not in an unfair way. And then you get everything you need at the end. And the ending felt good enough. Like, it didn't feel like The Village. It didn't feel like Signs. I didn't like Signs very much.
I like The Village. Big fan of The Village.
I feel, I liked The Village, but I feel like the very, very end of The Village was kind of like, okay.
I've said this before. I feel like he tries to do a twist in every movie. Yeah, and it's like, okay, you've telegraphed it now. We know your MO, so this is what you're going to do.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's his style.
Do something different. Try something different.
So in this he does.
Work.
So number one,
okay, good.
Number one, there's no twist. Again, you just don't know what's going on yet, but it's not really a twist. Number two, when you find out the big reveal, there's still a little bit of story left. The characters do something with that reveal. I mean, it's pretty late in the movie. They don't have a lot of time to do very much with it, but they do something, and that felt good. It wasn't just like you find the big reveal and it's like, oh, wow, mind blown, and then the credits roll, which is kind of typical, right? Like the very last scene in Unbreakable, where we find out this really important thing about one of the characters, basically, then the credits roll. It was really interesting. But that was the end of the story. In this, there's a little bit of an epilogue after that is fulfilling. Okay. So I will say that in those two ways, he did something different. And I would say that this was good. I'm not in love with it, but it was good. It was worth watching. And I think, for Halloween coming up, this is a mature, non-horror fan movie that you could watch for the Halloween season and feel like you kind of participated in the scary movie thing. It's not scary, but it's like, creepy-esque.
Yeah, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Yeah. So it's they all kind of have that particular vibe to them, which is...
And it's clearly him. Like
it's not psychological thriller, but it's almost there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say if you like his other movies, you'll like this one. If you're looking for a Halloween movie that's not a slasher film, this is a good pick. And I would say that it's easily in the top half of his filmography. Probably the top third.
Okay. All right, good. All right, I'm in then.
Okay.
I'll definitely get
I'll watch it at some point. I want to see it. I've seen most of his stuff, and I've always felt like he's trying too hard to recreate the same magic he had the first time, which isn't going to happen. I mean, you do something, if we know that's your thing and you're always looking for that, then we're looking for it. It's like in Signs. I mean, it's like, he telegraphed the water thing from the very beginning of the movie. I'm like, okay, glass of water have something to do with this at the end.
Right. Sure, and that's the thing about his movies. Like, I did the same thing with The Village. I leaned over to the person next to me. I'm about to spoil the end of The Village, right? So they're all at the beginning of the movie. The opening shot is they're all sitting.
It's only been out for 20-some years.
I know, right? They're sitting at this big table outside. This happens like back in, colonial times or something like that. And they're all sitting outside having a big feast. And the camera's kind of like coming in and establishing the shot. The title card hasn't even popped up yet. And I leaned over to my friend and I said, wouldn't it be funny if this is all in like present day and they're just like secluded out in the woods somewhere? Boom. End of the movie. That's exactly what the whole movie was. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Yep. But yeah, Signs, same thing. You knew it was going to be about the water.
Even Unbreakable. I mean, we had the telegraphing it was a comic book thing because you had Bruce Willis always in green. You had Samuel L. Jackson always in purple. It's like, okay, it's kind of feels very comic book-esque to me. And sure if it was, it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, so I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it when I can see it, but I'm not.
I would say it's good. Again, it's in his top third of his movies, and I like maybe about half of his stuff. So
okay,
it's good.
Well, I braved the theaters this week.
Oh,
I got my PPE on and went to the
Put your hazmat suit on.
I did. Yeah? Yep. I saw No Time to Die on Friday, 11:30 a.m. for the matinee.
I'm so jealous.
In the theater that had. So now my local theater I go to is the bigger theater with the recliners, and they're like not just the little recliners, they're big recliners. Mm-hmm. So even someone sitting next to me, they're still probably at least 3 feet away from me, type thing. And this theater had probably 25% of the total capacity could have been filled in it. So
okay.
I had seats on the side of me. It was empty. It was, before I bought the tickets, I was like, okay, it looks like they're pretty empty. I'll take these seats and hope for the best. And it worked out good. Nobody was next to me. And I had recently watched all the other Daniel Craig, James Bond movies leading up to this to be prepared, make sure I knew all the ins and outs, what was going on, because sometimes it blur a little bit as to what the story was. And I was blown away happy with this movie.
Wow.
Great production, great story. Daniel Craig does a great job as James Bond again. I won't say anything because there's too many spoilers. And I was telling Tim, because Tim's a huge Bond fan, and I, even little things about the way they did the story, the writing, some of the dialogue. It's not a spoiler for the movie itself, but it's a spoiler in the fact that it was something different than we've seen before. I'm like, oh, that was fantastic. I don't want to spoil that for anybody, so I'm not going to say anything more about that. But a couple
Anakin
weeks we'll
dies at the end.
It's burned to a crisp. But no, so yeah, if you're looking forward to seeing it, I don't know when it's going to be not in the theaters and be able to stream anywhere, but if you can get a chance to see it in the theater in a safe environment, I say go for it.
What are we doing at 6-week windows? Something like that?
I don't know.
I mean, I would say by Christmas it'll be in.
I would hope so.
And
iTunes
I don't even
Prime.
know what their streaming distribution agreement is.
Yeah,
so
it's
I don't know
weird
where
because you can't find a lot of the old. I found Skyfall is on Hulu. I couldn't find Spectre anywhere. They have a weird.
Casino Royale had been on Netflix for like the last 3 years, and I think it just dropped off of there.
I think it did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I've still got to see Skyfall and Spectre. I've got them on my short list.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the Eon Productions who they're the ones who actually own it. They're very, very tight with distribution. So I own physical copies of all the movies because you can't find them consistently anywhere.
Yep. Yeah, if you buy them, usually you get the Apple code, so you can put it in and have it on Apple TV. So you can stream it. But yeah, it's definitely hard to find the stuff. But everything about this movie was familiar and different at the same time, and great story, good action. I mean, some of the best car scenes I've seen in a Bond movie in a long time. So yeah,
awesome.
Looking forward to having Tim seen it soon so we can talk about it because I was blown away. So
cool. Very good.
Tim, what have you seen new?
Let's see. Aside from the stuff we've already talked about, Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Oh, how was that?
Came up. I thought it was really good. It was a lot of fun.
I forgot it was out.
Is it new?
That released on Disney Plus on Friday.
Okay.
And it's a fun story. It's really good. It does hearken to the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney, but even if you haven't been on it, that really doesn't impact your enjoyability of the story, nor does it spoil anything with the story because it's the Muppets and they just kind of do their own thing. Right. There's great cameos in there from people. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it is. I actually found this to be like one of the more straightforward Muppet movies, because sometimes the Muppet movies are just like all over the place.
They're very hit and miss.
This was, this one was like, there's a story, they stick to it, they progress through it, it's good, it ends. Like, it's good, it's solid. So yeah, definitely recommend it. It's a fun thing, whether it's kids, no kids, whatever. You know, it's the Muppets. It's a good time.
Good. It sounds like I'll like it better than the Lego Star Wars one, probably.
Wow.
And the only thing otherwise that I have, which is it was new to me, but it's not new. 2017 film called Crooked House. Watch this on Netflix. This is a film that's inspired by an Agatha Christie story. It has a good cast in it. Glenn Close, Gillian Anderson, Christina Hendricks is in it. Really good story. It's a mystery story. There's a really big vibe in it of Knives Out. A lot of similarities between the two movies. It was pretty enjoyable. I liked it. So nice. It's a good mystery movie.
Okay. To add that to my list. I saw a few other new things.
Yeah. What else?
The Many Saints of Newark.
That's the prequel for Sopranos.
Sopranos. Okay. Yeah. It's on HBO Max. So if you have that, it's free. I didn't care much for it.
Now, did you watch The Sopranos?
I did a few times. I own like the deluxe DVD box set thing.
Obviously, you did.
I did. I like The Sopranos quite a bit.
See, I have never watched The Sopranos.
Oh my gosh, it ages well. I know. Like you should.
Does it?
Oh yeah. Go watch it. Like binge it. Make it a priority for real. It is one of the best. I mean, when you look back at it, really, it's kind of what put HBO on the map for having these deluxe series. It was Sex and the City, and it was The Sopranos. And from those two juggernauts, HBO made a name for themselves for having these top-notch, must-watch shows. And I think The Sopranos,
real high-quality production series,
and the acting and the stories and stuff in The Sopranos are just mind-blowing. You definitely owe it to yourself to watch it. I cannot recommend Sopranos highly enough. It is one of the best television shows to come out of the last, I don't know, decade or two. I forget exactly when it went off the air now. But yes, you must watch it. Now, for the Sopranos fans out there, if you really, really, really are into all the character lore and stuff like that, you might like this. Okay? It's not that it was bad. It's that a lot of the promos focused on a young Tony Soprano, and he's barely in it. It's very much about like Uncle Dickie and Uncle Junior, and kind of, and it bounced around enough that you never really got to focus too heavily, except on maybe just a couple of characters, and then those characters, should they really have been the focus? I don't think so.
Now, is this a standalone movie or
it's a standalone movie? So one time deal. So if you're a Sopranos fan, it's good to watch just because it lets you revisit that series. But beyond that, I wouldn't recommend it. It does not stand on its own, hardly at all. And if you are a more casual fan of the series, I don't think you're going to care about this movie. Now, but that being said, Lou, I didn't realize you hadn't seen The Sopranos. Like, I would recommend you bump it near the top of your list.
Okay.
Like, if that's the only thing you talked about in the review shows for the next few weeks, I think we'd forgive you. Like, it's that good.
Okay.
Yeah. I also saw Injustice, which is the DC animated movie. I don't typically talk about these. This is the one that, so they had, most people are familiar with Mortal Kombat, the video game. Then they came out with the DC version called Injustice, and there's kind of a little bit of a storyline to it where the Joker arranges it so that Superman acts. This is not a spoiler because it's like the opening of the film and of the storyline. The Joker arranges it so that Superman accidentally kills Lois Lane. And then when Superman realizes what he's done, he executes the Joker. And then things kind of spiral out of there. So because you need an excuse in a video game to have heroes fighting each other, right? So you can do the alternate universe thing, or, you know, people possessed or whatever, or you can come up with something different. So this is kind of a clever way to do it. So the heroes are kind of picking sides and all that. So they did a movie they actually did a comic book series and then a movie, and the movie was pretty good. I liked it more so than most of the DC movies. So it's kind of a what if sort of thing. And I know we're going to talk about the what if finale here in a few minutes too. So this is kind of like, it's not under DC's Elseworlds label, but it might as well be. And it's pretty good. It's worth watching.
Okay. Cool.
I'll just whip through the couple of other things real quick. The Problem with Jon Stewart aired this last week. I don't know if you guys got to see it.
Haven't yet. Okay. No.
It's good. It's phenomenal. Very heavy stuff. So this first episode was about military vets coming back from overseas and developing cancer and stuff like that, and the government not taking care of their health concerns. So there's no politics in it. It's just simply they served, they went, they came back, they were abandoned. And it's kind of that topic. And he interviews, you know, some vets and their families and stuff. So the show format is changed a little bit from The Daily Show. It's a little bit more like Last Week Tonight, but it's not at all comedy centered. It's very much about like, listen, we have real issues. We need to get them dealt with. Let's cut through all of this BS. Here's what's going on and here's why it matters. And he does a really good job of it. You walk away feeling a little like, wow, the world really sucks. But it's a powerful show. So if that's what you're into, it's phenomenal. But just, you know, save yourself a sitcom for afterwards or something, just so, you know, you can get to sleep afterwards. Attack of the Hollywood Cliches, I won't get into it. It's on Netflix, hosted by Rob Lowe, and it goes through and looks at all of the different cliches that have been used in movies over the years. It's kind of a fun
is it worth
distraction.
Watching?
It's very much a Saturday afternoon while you're also browsing your Facebook, Insta, Twitter messages. Okay. Like, it's good for background. It's not like it's definitely a multitasker, but it's a welcome multitasker. It's something I think you should check out because there'll be funny moments in it, but it's an hour and a half long of, you know, 2 to 3 minute long vignettes. So it's okay. And then, Britney versus Spears. So Britney Spears, there was the court thing recently, and so there have been a couple of documentaries. One was on Hulu, one was on Netflix. I saw the one on Netflix, and it wasn't so much about all the drama and stuff that she went through publicly. It was about conservatorships, and it used the Britney Spears situation as a focus and as an example. But it was very eye-opening about how conservatorships operate. Now, it's a documentary, but clearly with you know, a bias. When you watch documentaries, you kind of have to look at it. You know, is it unbiased or is it biased? Because they're about probably 2/3 biased and 1/3 or less are unbiased documentaries, and I like those. This one was biased, but I kind of imagine probably in the right direction. And learning about how conservatorships work was a little scary. So it was interesting. It's probably worth watching. But as far as new releases, all of those came out, I think, within the last week, or at least 2 weeks, because it's been 2 weeks since we recorded. So those are all things that people probably haven't seen yet.
Okay, cool. For catching up on stuff, you know, this stuff that's been out for a while that we're either catching up on or maybe last season into this season, ready for the next one coming up. I know, you know, all three of us all been watching the What If series on Disney Plus for Marvel, and that just finished up last Friday. I think it was, right? Was it Friday or was it the week before?
Wednesday.
It was last Friday. Wednesday. That's right. I'm so used to Friday releases. What'd you guys think of the finale?
Awesome.
I was amazed by this. I loved the tie together of the whole thing. I love the premise of the story that they gave. I love that they didn't just like, oh, hey, we have all of our heroes together and they're going to win. Like, it did not go that way. It was great. The storytelling was just fantastic. And I won't say that I was proven wrong, because I didn't say this was going to be like crap. But I did say I was never really a fan of the What If comics. So I was kind of skeptical about this, and I wasn't really like looking forward to it. And I'm glad that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was incredible. I think you really hit on the two most important parts about the finale. One, them taking an interesting concept with it. And then number two, the storytelling was just great. It could have been so cookie cutter, and instead it wasn't.
Yeah.
I loved that they tied together all of the other episodes so far. And I was hoping...
That was something I was not expecting.
I was hoping.
I didn't see that coming.
I knew that it was possible because of things I can't talk about. But I knew it was possible, and so I had my fingers crossed. And I'm so glad that not only that they did it, but that they did it this way. Like you said, Tim, it could have been just the heroes show up and kick butt and yay. And it was a lot deeper than that. It was a lot more complex than that.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It's tough to talk about the finale without spoiling what happened. Yeah. And I won't say anything more because it was just very unexpected, but very, very satisfying. I mean, I thought each individual episode was satisfying up until the ending. And the ending just tied everything up in a pretty bow at the very end and said, wow, okay, here you go. Here's your gift. Because this series was fantastic. And I wish they would do more of this now. I mean,
well, they will.
I've always been a big fan. Will they?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. There's a second season. It's going to be covering phase 4 stuff.
Awesome.
Right? Tim? Yes.
Yeah. It's confirmed.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. I wish they would do this with other stuff. I've always liked alternate histories, or this one point in time, if this one thing changed, if this guy dropped the matchbook here instead of there, what would happen down the road? The butterfly effect type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love those kind of stories, and I love the way they took this into different directions. And I was just blown away. And I got through this series, and I'm like, if they just kept doing this for Marvel stuff, I'd be happy without having live action stuff, because this was done really, really well.
Oh, the animation style was incredible.
But not just the style, just the story, the writing, the production that went into it. I mean, live action is great. Don't get me wrong. I definitely want to keep going in live action. But if you couldn't do something and could only do it in animation style and done this way, I'd be like, give me more, please, because they did a really good job with this.
Yeah, they really did.
And I was equally pleased with the actors, the live action actors that they brought in to do the voice work.
Yes.
As well as I was with the voice actors that they brought in for the characters who weren't using the live actors.
Right.
They were both great. It was cool to have some of the original actors come in to do this stuff, and but also not knocking the professional voice actors who came in and filled in the gaps, and I thought it was terrific.
Yeah, they had some phenomenal voice acting work. It was like, I didn't miss not having the original actors in there. And there were a few points where I'm like, okay, is that the original, or is that someone they brought in for this show?
Right.
And it was interesting because I got most correct, but there were some I got wrong, and I'm like, oh no, that was actually the original actor. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it.
Yeah. Some of them you had to actually look for. The voice actor for Steve Rogers sounded exactly like Chris. What's his name?
Says the guy who runs all our Marvel shows, Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, there's a lot of Chris's in Marvel.
That's true. Right? There are a couple.
There are. Yes. For me personally, catching up, a couple things. I finally watched the season 2 finale of Lego Masters.
Okay.
And I was blown away by the builds they had. I mean, those were just fantastic. It's funny. The first season, I watched it, and I'm thinking to myself, that's a really cool. I could be at this show. Sounds really. I'd love to be on that and try that.
Yeah.
Second season, I'm going, whoa, did they up their game? I don't think.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the show anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, some of the stuff they had built, even in prior episodes, this one was just phenomenal. But these last ones they put together, I mean, they gave them 24 hours to build the finale, their masterpiece, signature piece, I guess, that was just outstanding what they did with Lego work. Mm-hmm. So I was just thoroughly impressed.
For me, the second season was not as consistent in its appeal to me as the first one was. Like this one.
Really?
Well, so there were some really outstanding builds in the second season that were far beyond anything from the first. So it had some really, really high moments, but then there were also some episodes where I'm like, I just don't care about this one. It felt like there was a lot more about structural integrity and stuff this time around and less about design. And there's always a blend of the two, but I kind of felt like this one didn't have as many opportunities for them to really get creative without then costing them whatever the structural integrity aspect of the challenge was. I felt like in the first season, they got to open up a lot more. And in the second one, the ability to open up creatively was always constrained by the technicality of whatever the challenge was. And that's part of the challenge, right? Like I get that.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was really balanced more toward the structural side this time as opposed to the creativity. And I'd like to see it settle in the middle a little bit more.
See, I think I know where you're coming from, because I thought the same thing about some of the episodes, but I thought that separated, the good from the bad pretty quickly, because some teams couldn't do it at all. And they really didn't have the technical skills or, the way to put a good design aspect to a technical build, where some teams just knocked it out of the park every week. And I think that they got it right. The teams at the end.
Oh yeah, they were the right teams.
Two of the three were definitely the right teams. Yeah. And the third one was really close. And there was a couple of them that would like to see this team there instead of that team. But I think it came down to the three best teams that they could have picked.
I think so too. And I like the season. I mean, it worked out well. I'm not complaining about it. I look forward to the third season. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I just missed some of the other style of challenge. So I'm curious where they're going to take it in the third season.
Sure.
Still a fan.
Good. And then the last thing I watched, I started Another Life. That's the Katie Sackhoff Netflix series.
Season 2 comes out Thursday.
Season 2 coming out this week. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch it by then, but I'm all in. I watched the first episode yesterday, and I'm like, why didn't I watch this before?
Yeah.
So, really good stuff so far. So I'm looking forward to finishing that and going to season 2.
Curious as to what you're going to think as it goes along. Tim, did you catch it yet?
No.
Okay. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, so far I will too. I'm one episode in, but I'll say yes.
And I wasn't all that sold on it on the first episode. I think I was. It was another one of those, is it going to get canceled before it goes anywhere sorts of things that we were talking about earlier, right? So I was kind of a little like, you got to earn this. And I feel like it earned it.
But it's not ABC, so I'm going to get more confidence.
It's not ABC. It's not Fox. Netflix takes care of its own a little better, I think. It's good, though. I can't wait until Thursday. There's something else coming out Tuesday. The Movies That Made Us is releasing their horror movies. So they're going to do Halloween.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
I think they're doing Friday the 13th. I think they're doing Aliens.
Which a lot of people seem to forget that the Alien movies, particularly the first two, are actually they're sci-fi horror movies.
Well, the first one definitely. The second one maybe not so much. The first one was definitely it was a horror movie through and through.
But I felt like the second one was more intense than the first one.
It was, but it was more action. It was more of an action adventure movie, I thought.
But I still I think the second one is still one of my favorite movies that also counts as a horror movie ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because when I saw it at that age, it was intense. It's like it didn't scare the crap out of me, but like it was. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, oh my gosh, not from the excitement, but from the horror aspect of it. The being stuck there, and are they going to die? Are they going to what's going to happen?
And I've only recently seen the cut scenes.
Oh,
the director's cut
too.
The director's cut for Aliens, and it's really freaking good.
It is.
It it makes a big difference. Yep.
I like
couple of minutes of extra footage make a world of difference sometimes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a movie people should watch coming into Halloween. Anyway, that's coming out Tuesday, but yeah, after Another Life coming out Thursday, both on Netflix.
Nice. What about you? What else you guys watched that's been kind of catching up?
So let's see. The seasons for Magnum PI and SWAT have started back up, which I'm really happy about. Love both those shows. United States of Al. They just started their second season last week. Did you guys see the first season at all?
No. What was it?
United States of Al. CBS, I think.
No.
So, in a nutshell, United States of Al is about a Marine who returns home, and he was able to bring his interpreter. He was able to get his interpreter out of Afghanistan, and so he lives with him. And it's fundamentally a sitcom. The mechanics of it are a sitcom.
I saw a trailer for that.
They started, so the second season started a few days ago. We loved the first season. The second season opener, and I'm guessing that they rewrote their scheduled opener. And in the last less than a month, because they basically went through, and this was not obviously there were funny moments as in most sitcoms, even when they try to ground it. But truly sat on the couch watching this and had tears. Because I relate to this by way of really good friends who are from Afghanistan. Yeah. It was about the Afghani, the translator, his sister trying to get out of Kabul as the Taliban was taking over. Mm. And it told a story over, I think, 6 days. And it was just different cuts of stuff. And it was very, very intense. Not sitcom-y. It was insanely appropriate for the characters. It was done really, really well, and hugely emotional, hugely emotional. And, which I think anyone can relate to who's, watched the news over the last 20 years and has any concept of what the folks in Afghanistan went through while they were under Taliban rule earlier, and what their lives have been, both the ups and downs, over the last 20 years. And then now the changes that are going to come to this country again, especially for women. So just really, really heavy. And then the other one was the season finale for Archer.
I haven't seen it yet.
And I say season finale because I don't know if we mentioned it. They announced that they are going to do another season, even though they said this was going to be the last season. They also said last season was going to be the last season.
But they're going to handle the departure of Jessica Walters on the show, apparently.
They do that
they do it in the finale?
And it is it's amazing for Archer. For me, you watch any episode, and this is we're 9 seasons now of Archer, and I freaking laugh. You don't get emotional through any of it. The last minute and a half of this one, you're like, oh, wow. It's really somber, but it's really appropriate, and it's fantastic. And it was done really, really well. I
might have to finish that up tonight.
And the thing is that it wasn't this thing that they just cut in at the end of an episode and it didn't fit. No, it actually, they I don't know if it was something that's how they wrote it or they made it fit or whatever, but it worked. It was really very good. Very, very good. So, that's all I got.
I'm sorry, I'm chiming in with the chat room about a discussion about whether RoboCop is horror or not.
The Criterion Collection version might be a little more horror than the regular version.
That's interesting.
Okay. There's some much more violent scenes in the Criterion version.
Yeah, that's what I was saying in the chat room. I think that at the time, people kind of considered it horror-like because at the time, it was much more about the violence was more graphic than what people were used to out of what seemed to be a sci-fi movie. So again, kind of like Aliens is sci-fi is horror. And I think it's definitely sci-fi, but at the time, the violence made a lot of people wonder if it may be counted as a horror movie instead. But that's another one that's going to be on the Movies That Made Us. It's coming out this Tuesday.
Cool.
So I'd buy that for $1 in the chat room. Yeah. I watched Edge of 17 again, just kind of in the background while I was doing some gaming. I've been playing New World. I'm
how is that?
Surprised. So it's really good. It's really easy to get into. It's really inexpensive. There's no monthly charge. And apparently it is one of the largest online game launches in history. Like I had no idea. It kind of flew under my radar. I had no idea how big it was and how successful it was. But apparently, like it's crazy. I mean, all of the servers were bombarded on the first day. They had to open up like an additional 40 or 50 servers, and even those got like clogged up. Something like 675,000 people logged in at once on the first day.
Jeez.
Like on a work day, a weekday, there were 675,000 users on a Tuesday morning. I don't even think West Coast was awake yet.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's good. I would recommend it. If anybody wants to join up, let me know. We've got a guild. I don't run it, but I'm in a guild with some coworkers and stuff, and it's pretty good. But anyway, while I was gaming, I like to have something on in the background, and I couldn't come up with what to watch in the background. And if anybody has any suggestions, let me know. But I was watching Edge of 17 because I realized I hadn't ever finished it. And it has Haley Steinfeld in it. And Haley Steinfeld, there's something else she's doing soon, and I don't remember what it was. Oh, the Hawkeye series.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So I was thinking about that, and I thought, I never finished that movie. So I threw it on the background. It's pretty good. I mean, it's the whole kind of teen angst kind of movie, but it's very, very different in how they handle everything, and it's not dumb, I guess. And she's such a good actor, and it's got Woody Harrelson as one of her teachers who does just a brilliant job. And it's different. Like everything you would think that they would do in this type of movie, they handle in a very different way than I would have expected. So, and a nice little thing to throw on in the background if it's your type of movie. So, but that's all I got. Oh, and Lego Star Wars Battles, we talked about that game recently. Yeah, mid-battle, I said, nah, I give up. Not in that battle, but I went back to the home screen and deleted the app.
That's harsh. That's harsh. I
they have to fix
the
it.
game. I haven't played for a couple days, but I enjoy the game.
They have to fix it. I tried, and I said, you know what, you just got to be patient. And it wasn't a rage quit either. Like there was no emotion behind it. It was just like, I'm not going to continue until they fix the matchmaking.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a great game. I hope they do. The day they fix it, I'll be back. That day.
Okay.
And a different company. I looked specifically at the company because in a couple of weeks, there's a Transformers version coming. Classic G1 Transformers, not this Michael Bay crap. Okay. And I looked at, there's a new Transformers game. And I pulled it up and it's like, it's a base-to-base battle game. Oh, and there's towers. Wait a minute.
Oh, so it's the same thing?
But
same game.
There's no center tower and there's like bridges. So it's a little different.
Okay.
But it's basically this. It's the same game enough to the point where I went to look up the developer of it and then the developer of the Lego Star Wars to see if it was the same company, and it's not. So that makes me a little bit more suspicious, but I don't know. I'm going to try that, and maybe their matchmaking balancing system is a little better.
Yeah, it does need some tweaking. I'd like to see that improve.
Yeah. Okay.
We still got...
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode.
RoboCop quotes here in the chat room.
Yeah, they're running back and forth, rampant in there.
Yeah.
It was such a good movie. I should watch that again.
Love that.
Haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah.
You know what? You guys out there, you could be in the chat room here with, throwing out some movie quotes and stuff too. If you go to randomchatter.com/YouTube, most Sunday nights, I used to say every Sunday night, but, we've had some slow news weeks recently and things like that. And I know with the holidays coming up, things will be a little odd too. But typically, Sunday nights at about 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, you can join us live. randomchatter.com/YouTube or youtube.com/randomchatter. Either one will get you to the chat room and you can hang out with us and listen to the show. Or if you don't want to watch it live because maybe you've got other plans on Sunday nights, you can still drop in anytime after that. Hit the subscribe and the like button. And there's also a little notifications button there that'll let you know when we go live or when we have new episodes posted. If you'd like to know when we're about to go live on any given night, you can join the Discord server too. Go to randomchatter.com/Discord. And we are part of the Escape Hatch Discord server. You can join us there and find out when we're streaming live. We also do Movie Chatter on Tuesday nights. The next one is going to be covering the Protégé. And hopefully maybe the one after that we'll be covering Free Guy. If we can talk Robin into it. If not, or even maybe if so, maybe we should get Tim.
She'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll get Tim on the episode too.
Cool.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
Between the Marvel references, the Fortnite references, other things that Robin may not be as privy to. Yeah, we'll have to talk her into that. Anyhow, that's going to do it for this episode of Random Chatter. Thank you for hanging out with us. For those watching live, we will be back in a few minutes. Wow, I had some trouble spitting that one out. We will be back in a few minutes with Force Chatter. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Lego Terrifying Tales and some new books that are coming out down the road here pretty soon. So stick around for that. Otherwise, we will see you